Okay, so quick background on me. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a nurse. However, I do have some medical experience. My first batch through graduate school, I was part of the research team in radiation oncology. I was one of the guys working on boron neutron capture therapy. We were doping up brain cancer patients and firing protons into copper targets in order to generate neutrons to go into a bismuth source where we could get a fission reaction and non-invasively kill the cancer in the patient in the brain. Very, very complicated stuff. I haven't done that in quite a few years. Very experimental, a lot of work was done in Japan. My latest go-around on this, I'm active in the targeted alpha therapy space. Bismuth 213, actinium 225, we want to work with the oncologists here where we do custom genetically engineered antibodies to deliver the targeted alpha source directly to the cancer anywhere in the body. So you get another, beautifully again, you get a fission reaction which results in the localized death of the cancer. Please do not ask me deeply technical medical questions on it. Ask me the engineering side of it. Okay, now back to what I'm doing today on the race. I am a small business guy. So I'm very, very into financial matters. If you come by my campaign office in Rocky River, and you're welcome anytime, I've got lots of typical political stuff on the wall. And as Carol can tell you, I have the house chart of the Affordable Care Act. That's the only thing that doesn't fit the typical political pattern. And her and I stood in front of it. She was nice enough to come by for the open house. We probably spent about 45 minutes talking about two issues she said were important to you guys. One is the infamous CMS reimbursement side. The Affordable Care Act is something around 2,500 pages, and the last I heard, there are 8.5 feet of regulations on it. Not an expert, let me tell you, the cheapest way we can treat the patient to keep them out of the hospital is the best business sense. And if that means that nurses, based upon their educational experience and what they can do for the patients, is the most cost-effective way to do it, then we should do it on a pure dollar and cents point. Secondly, however, I don't know if you saw the news today, 6 new co-ops dropped out of the Affordable Care Act today. It's on death spiral. And there's absolutely nothing we can do about it. It's going to require a complete and total overhaul of the ACA. For the handful of you in the room who think that the national health system is probably the way to go, you're right from a dollar and cents point. It will freeze all medical advancement in the country. The drugs you have available today, the therapies you have available today, the medical devices you have available today are what your great-great-great-grandchildren will have under a national health care system. Because when you take the money out of it, advancement stops. Happy to take any questions.
So let's see. Don't go far. Any questions that anybody would like to ask or write on a card? So, Dr. Daly?
So it sounds like you're a provider of services or devices. Is that?
No, not at all. It's pure research work. In grad school, I was on a research project for it, and on the targeted alpha therapy side, I'm involved in an energy research program where one of the byproducts of it is we're able to generate a broad swath of medical isotopes for the industry. Everything from technetium-99 for cardiac imaging, and the targeted alpha therapy pieces, thallium-98 for lymph node treatments. We're going to be an isotope generator.
Okay, so do you buy the pharmaceutical argument that the prices have to be as high as they are to support the research?
Did everybody hear the question?
Repeat the question.
The question was, do I buy the argument from the pharmaceutical companies that the prices need to be as high as they are to support the research? What's the compliance cost to get it through the FDA?
That's not the question.
No, and that's the answer to it. If we take down the regulatory barriers and we make it much simpler and faster, let's go with the EpiPen one, right? It's out of patent. Anybody can build it. You can build it in your garage off the existing. Sorry, no you can't. It's 18 months and $6 million to get it approved. For something we already know everything about. Make that 6 weeks and $10,000 and the prices fall through the floorboards. On the front end piece, we've all seen varying numbers on what it costs to take a new drug from ideation all the way through creation, and I've seen everything up to $5 billion on a new drug. That needs to be looked at pretty thoroughly, but if that's really the number, and they don't all win, and it's $5 billion worth of development costs per drug, you gotta capture a lot of cost in order to be able to bring something like that to market. And think about where we're at, probably 5 years from now, 10 years from now, what we're doing on imaging, the work that's going on in prosthetics, where they're starting to tie it into the spinal cord. We are on the verge here of curing paralysis. That's a multi-billion-dollar research project, though. Multi-billion-dollar, and those costs have to be recovered, or there will be no research.
Okay, we have,
But do the costs have to be just from the United States? We actually bear the burden of research and development, and the cost of drugs is not the same universally. So why are we the only one? Maybe we're not.
Because we're virtually the last country on the face of the earth that has something resembling a free medical system. You go to Canada and they say, whatever the manufacturing cost of the pill is, forget R&D, plus 15%. Well, raw pill production is virtually nil, right? Once you've got a formulation and you make the pills, it costs almost nothing to make them, but it's all some cost you have to recover.
You're right, but that doesn't make the cost of pharmaceuticals affordable for the American public.
Yes, we are subsidizing the healthcare for the rest of the world.
Right, well, we can't afford that.
Something on the order of, I don't know the exact number, north of 90% of all drugs and north of 90% of all medical devices launch in this country.
Right.
Why? Because this is where you can make money at and recover the costs. And then when you go to Canada and Asia and parts of Europe, now they're just picking up, interval gross margin. Sorry, the MBA's coming out on this. Once your sunk costs are parried up, if it's 2 cents for a pill and you can sell it for 10 cents after R&D's paid for, that's not too bad. You're making 400% margin on it. If you've paid off $5 billion in R&D. And the rest of the world doesn't pay for R&D, the American consumer pays for virtually all R&D, with the exception of some things in Japan. I don't want to blame everybody, but we know the Canadian system and most of the European systems, we're paying the freight on their low drug prices and their low medical device prices.
so, thank you very much, Mr. Larson. We are going to move on.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was a hook straight out of burlesque from the 1920s and exit stage left. Thank you.
You're welcome. But he gave us a great idea for a district meeting.